So let's start the presentation. Birds in Vexillology, welcome to the Aviary. The purpose of this presentation is to examine the bird motif in vexillology. Of course, in the brief time we will have together, it would be impossible to explore every detail of this vast subject. In fact, this topic could easily fill a book, and it would be a voluminous work if it included coats of arms. Moreover, a separate presentation could easily be made on just one bird, such as the eagle, or bird flags in just one country. But hopefully, at my talk's conclusion, we will have an overview of this subject and a better understanding of just how important birds have been as a symbol in the world of vexillology. This presentation will contain three parts. The first is to demonstrate the similarities between birds and flags. The second portion, a quick analysis of national and state bird flags, and then how bird flags play a role in society. Finally, we will go to the aviary to examine some individual species of birds and their significance regarding flags. In the end, you will see examples of bird flags from around the world and from many flag groups to prove that this motif is not limited just to one region of the world, nor is it used in just a few flag categories. To begin, let's look at some of the similarities between birds and flags. One might ask, how can living creatures, most of which fly, possibly have anything in common with an inanimate object made from fabric like a flag? But they do. Of course birds fly, but so do flags. Fabrics blowing in the wind, they are expressions like keep the flag flying to show support of a cause or territory, or run it up the pole and see if the flag flies, as sentiment if a flag design will be accepted by the public. There is even a flag company in New Hampshire called the High Flying Flag Company. Birds have even given a name to a type of flag, the feather flag, right there, the feather flag. And you see those in front of ice cream stands and Pizza Huts and all the kind of things like that. However, there are some birds that don't fly, like the emu and the kiwi. But then there are flags that don't fly either, like the ones worn in patches on uniforms and decals on vehicles. Both birds and flags are old, especially birds. Birds can be traced back to the Jurassic period some 155 million years ago. And we all know when we were kids, learning about dinosaurs, there was the flying dinosaur, the pterodactyl. Flags, of course, are not that old, and especially since most were made from fabric, they would deteriorate over time. Thus, it would be difficult to determine when flags first came into being. However, in ancient Egypt, vexilloids, flag-like objects, were used, and some of them bore bird images. They're like standards. In 1972, there was a tremendous vexillological discovery. A metallic flag was discovered in ancient Kabas in the desert in Iran. It was determined it was made in 3000 BC and is thus over 5,000 years old. It is now called the Kabas flag. Most appropriately for this talk, this flag contained an eagle. Well, you can see the eagle finial in the corner here. Isn't it ironic that thousands of years later, the eagle still appears as a finial, this time on the flag of the United States of America and the presidential flag of that nation. And you can also see it on the finial of the US flag down there. The next commonality is that both birds and flags have many varieties and tremendous numbers. There are over 10,000 species of birds, and although their numbers have decreased over the last 50 years, there are over 50 billion birds on Earth today. Flags have over 185,000 entries on the largest flag website, Flags of the World, or FOTW, as many of us are familiar with. As of July 2023, according to its director, NAVA member Rob Rayside. Furthermore, there are millions of flags throughout the world. They are on and in public buildings, private residences, and at cemeteries, to name but a few places. For instance, there were over 200,000 at the 2020 presidential inauguration in Washington, D.C., and I think a lot of us remember that. There are other similarities. There are big birds, like the ostrich in South Cassowary. Then there are big flags, too, like the one flown on a giant flagpole in India. You can even see the bird next to it. And one in Mexico. Look how small the people are. And on American football fields. Just as there are big birds, there are small ones, tiny ones, like the hummingbird and the weebill. And yes, we have small flags, like little toothpicks, like we had last night at the meal, and back there, and miniature table flags. Finally, birds are found everywhere. in deserts, in jungles, in Antarctica. But flags are there too, even in our backyards and neighborhoods. Having established the many commonalities between birds and flags, let's now take a brief analysis of national and state bird flags and then look at the role bird flags play in society. 99 countries have adopted a national bird. Every single state in the United States, Australia, Brazil, every province and territory in Canada, every prefecture in Japan, which is comparable to a state or province, has not only a flag, but an official bird as well. Today, there are 195 countries in the world, and 20 of them have a national flag with a bird on them. This constitutes about 10%. Birds can be seen on every continent, and at least one national flag bearing a bird can also be found on them, if one includes Oceania and Australia as one. Only in an uninhabited Antarctica, where there are no nations, just research stations, doesn't a national bird flag exist. But even there, the United Kingdom is represented by the British Antarctic Territory flag bearing an emperor penguin. In the United States, of the 56 states and territories, 12 have birds on them. This would be 21% or a fifth of the state and territorial flags. All these state and territorial flags contain eagles, with the exception of Louisiana down the corner, which has a pelican. Some states have embraced their state bird to such a degree that they have created finials, which is the top of a pole, to honor them. For instance, Kentucky uses a cardinal finial with its state flag, and in Delaware, the governor's flag has a blue hen's fighting cock on it. And Alan, this one's for you, coming back from the UK. The United Kingdom has 5 overseas territorial flags that incorporate the bird motif. The British Antarctic Territory with the emperor penguin, Ascension Island with 3 wide-awake birds, St. Helena having a St. Helena plover in the middle, South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands with a macaroni penguin, and Tristan da Cunha with 4 albatrosses over the corner. And those would appear in the blue ensign in the fly like it does in the British Antarctic Territory. Some bird flags are indicative of their place names. For instance, the city of Belomorsk, Russia, which is near Finland, has a magpie. It's up in the corner there. The city was formed from several villages, and one was called Soroka, which means magpie. Finchfield, United Kingdom, displays 3 yellow finches on its banner as a play on the name Finchfield. The Japanese prefecture of Totara is blue with a white stylized bird. The haranga, that symbol right there in the black, the haranga character of Totori, is a bird shape, as Totori means many birds. You can see the shape of the character of the language into the bird. In South Africa, there is a municipality called the Blue Crane Route, and its flag has 2 blue cranes, the national bird, on it to commemorate its place name. Some birds are used in celebrations or festivities. The city of Siena, Italy, is divided into 17 districts or contradas. Each contrada has its own totem figure, which is used on a flag. The contrada flag, bearing a pink or blue ribbon, announces the birth of a new member. The same flag, hung with black crepe, accompanies the remains of a member in the final procession to a cemetery. Every year there is a horse race called a palio, and each of the 17 contradas is represented by a horse. Before the race, there are days with lots of parades and banquets. 3 of the contrada flags have birds on them: the eagle, the goose, and the owl. Shown here is the eagle and goose contrada flags during a flag throwing event in the city. The owl banner is being hung outside a building in its quarter of the city. An interesting bird flag is that of Titiwa Island, which means 2 islands. It is located off the northern coast of Australia. It is inhabited by Aboriginal people. Part of their culture is to carve birds from wood. The carvings, as you can see over the corner there, represent various birds from Tiwa mythology, which have various meanings. Certain birds tell of the Tiwa people approaching monsoonal rains, whilst others warn of impending cyclones. Others, depending on the totem of the people, alert the Tiwi people that someone has died in a particular clan. There are others that represent ancestral beings who were, this is amazing, according to mythology, changed into birds. Carved birds are sometimes at the top of pukamani poles, and that's those poles there, which are placed at burial sites. To commemorate their culture and heritage, several pukamani poles bearing bird-like images are placed on the Tiki White Island flag at the top. In the corporate world, the video game company Revoyo in Finland proudly flies Angry Bird flags from the company headquarters. This was the firm that produced the video game Angry Birds that became a worldwide hit with spin-off merchandising. Another example where you never know where bird flags will appear. In the world of sports, there are bird flags. Our host city, Philadelphia, for NAVA 57, even proudly displays one, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Fighting Kiwi banners used to support teams from New Zealand. The Sydney Swans and the Montreal Alouettes are football teams in their respective countries and their football leagues. Okay, the eagle. Now on to specific birds. In the world of heraldry, what the lion, the king of beasts, is to the animal kingdom, the eagle is to the avian one. And the latter can also be said in regard to vexillology. Of the 20 national flags with birds, 9 contain eagles. In 1782, Congress chose the bald eagle as the national bird and placed it on the Great Seal of the United States. Today, the eagle has become synonymous with America and is an iconic symbol of the country. It is used widely in conjunction with the American flag on calendars, t-shirts, signs, flags themselves, and other items. I think you can all see these all over the place. Even on Snap-on tools on the back of the trucks, they have these pictures of eagles and flags. The eagle on a national flag is used widely in the world. In Kazakhstan, it is a most appropriate symbol, as the Kazakhs use eagles for hunting. The symbolism is that, on the flag, is that beneath the sun soars a golden-stepped eagle. Together they stand for the love of freedom and the lofty thoughts and ideals of the Kazakh people. As diverse as it may seem, thousands of miles away, the eagle also appears on a national flag in sub-Saharan Africa. The flag of Zambia bears the fish eagle. This magnificent bird symbolizes the aspiration to rise to greater things and the ability of the nation to overcome problems. In the coat of arms, the eagle hovers over a representation of Victoria Falls, and that is a picture of a fish eagle over Victoria Falls. Just as with many symbols, birds can have opposite meanings. Whereas the eagle symbolizes courage, strength, determination, bravery, and wisdom, the dove represents peace. In the Judaic and Christian cultures, the dove holding an olive branch symbolizes peace. After the biblical flood, Noah sent out a raven and a dove from an ark to search for dry land. Only the dove returned, grasping in its beak an olive branch from the Mount of Olives, thus signifying God's forgiveness of man and the deliverance of humanity. Both the Greek and Turkish administration areas of Cyprus bear a dove with an olive branch on their coat of arms. The flags of that nation's capital, Nicosia, and the Cyprus Football Club also include this symbol. The dove appears on the civic flag of Olive Branch, Mississippi, an obvious reference to its place name. In the past, doves were released at the opening of Olympic Games to signify peace. The bird of paradise. If there is one nation that embraces the bird motif in vexillology more than any other, it has to be Papua New Guinea. The bird of paradise is a beautiful bird that graces the national coat of arms and flag of many provincial flags. The bird of paradise first appeared as a symbol when German Papua New Guinea adopted a coat of arms in the early 1900s. Later, Australia administered the territory till 1975 and flew 2 flags on it with this bird on it. Today, there are 22 provinces in the country and 12 have birds on them, many with local indigenous birds found nowhere else in the region. The parrot. The Caribbean island of Dominica has a national flag in the world that is unique. It is the only one with a parrot on it, and it's also the only one that contains the color purple, which is part of the bird's plumage. The name of the parrot is imperial parrot or Cicero parrot, and is endemic or just native to that island. The national bird is extremely endangered, and only 50 parrots are alive in the world today. On the island of Puerto Rico is the municipality of Rio Grande. It too bears a parrot. Over a white triangle bears the Puerto Rican parrot, Amazonia vitae. It too is an endangered species. A milk-white swan floating on water with graceful movements of its neck is one of the most perfect creatures in nature. The swan is widely used as a bird emblem. In Grand Prairie, Alberta uses the trumpet swan as its official symbol. Its nickname is Swan City. The city is the swan's migration route and a site for summer nesting grounds. The capital city of Australia, Canberra, uses a coat of arms flanked by 2 swans, one dark blue and one white. The dark blue represents Australia in its native state, the white swan, introduction of the white English race. The final flag, which I think is great, the one on the left of Aborsky, Russia. The flag bears a unique emblem with a swan between a horse and a polar deer. Finally, the owl. The next bird is the owl. The owl was the bird of Pallas Athena. In ancient Egypt, Greece, Athena was the goddess of art and science. She stood for foresight, insight, and wisdom. She was the deity of Athens. The name itself means Athena's city. Athens was also famous in its ancient time for owls and inhabited every part of the town, but particularly the Acropolis. Vitre, Lithuania uses an owl on its civic flag for its teachers' seminary, which was established there. And Pala, Estonia uses a great horned owl as a reference to education. And I included this coat of arms because I just think those owls are adorable on the Russian flag. Okay, conclusion. Our time is at an end. I must conclude this presentation. We must leave our fine feather friends in the aviary. We have seen parrots and penguins. We have traveled the world from Australia to Africa to Antarctica and everywhere in between, viewing this motif all during this short lecture. Of course, there are so many bird flags we did not view, like the kingfisher on Halifax, duck, goose, crane, heron, and stork, the little bird that brings us our babies. But they will have to wait for the written portion of this talk or for us to return in an aviary at a future time. However, it is my hope that we all have a better understanding of how important the bird is as a symbol in vexillology. Birds are truly remarkable creatures. When a flag is planted by a mountaineer on Mount Everest, they may see the bar-headed geese flying nearby through the Himalayan mountains at up to 30,000 feet. And next time you are on a road trip, when you're tired and hungry, think of the bar-tailed godwit, which migrates over 7,000 miles from Alaska to New Zealand without stopping for food or rest. Moreover, many breeds make wonderful pets and bond with humans, as I can personally attest. Doubt it? Well, just ask a pirate. And by the way, Johnny Depp's name in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Well, it was Jack Sparrow. Flags are fascinating in their own way, too. Inanimate, they still touch the hearts of humanity. When first breaking the bonds of Earth, it was a flag that was left on the moon to mark mankind's achievement. It was a flag that 3 firemen raised at the destroyed Twin Towers in New York in September 2001 that symbolically gave hope to a weary nation that, like a phoenix, the country would rise again from the ashes and rebuild and persevere. And finally, there are few things on earth that can inspire a human being to unquestionably give the ultimate sacrifice, their life, as does a flag and what it represents. So, to the ornithologist, he or she can't imagine a world without birds. To the vexillologist, he or she can't imagine a world without flags. And to the citizens of Earth, they can't imagine this wonderful world without either. Thank you. I want to thank everybody who helped me on this thing. Okay, the question was, he had heard that Ben Franklin opposed the eagle as the national bird, that he wanted the turkey. I Googled it, and it said that that's a myth. They did have they went through 3 commissions before they did adopt the eagle. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. David's asking what flag this is. This is, and I meant to mention this, Lee Harold, who's here. Right there, Lee Harold. Thanks, Lee. And Lee Harold also helped me with some of the flag stands and so forth. Peter, I want to thank everybody who helped me with the stand. This is a proposed flag for Rochester, Minnesota, with a goose on it. And I didn't have time for it in the paper, but I will in the written paper. Rochester has presently geese on it. They want to remodel it, and right now it's kind of in limbo, right? Right. But this is Lee's design. I think it's great. It's beautiful. Is it yours? Well, it was a design proposed or anything. I thought it was your design. Okay, sorry. Well, I got a flag from him anyway, so okay. Okay.